Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you, wherever you might be. Welcome to this webinar where we will be looking to decode India's protein paradox as it stands. As some of you might have doubtlessly heard at some point in your life, we are what we eat. Nutrition is one of the key pillars of sound physical health and of our cognitive abilities. On an average in India, the consumption of food per capita per day is 1.317 kilograms, which is about 2,400 calories. Ours is a predominantly starchy diet rich in carbohydrates, which can become quite the problem over time. Proteins, however, are equally important nutrients, and they're also sourced from carbohydrate-rich foods. But actual protein sources, such as dairy products, such as animal foods and pulses, are consumed in a comparatively limited quantity by Indians. This presents a few challenges. If we were to look back in time to the 50s and 60s, we saw that international organizations were focused on protein malnutrition among children in developing countries such as India. We've seen the emphasis gradually shift from proteins to micronutrient malnutrition in the 70s, the assumption being that the latter was a more severe issue and most children received adequate protein. There is now thus an urgent need to reassess this assumption as evidence suggests that protein deficiencies continue to persist among large sections of the population. To talk on these topics, we have with us an eminent panel of Power Pack speakers. We have with us Mr. Bhupinder Singh, who's the chairman of the PFNDAI. We have Dr. Hemlata, the director of ICMR, who will be joining us shortly. We have with us Dr. Parmeet Kaur, who's the chief dietitian, Department of Dietetics, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and Ms. Pooja Makhija, who's a celebrity nutritionist. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for being here with us for this webinar. Let's kick things off without much further ado. I'd like to pose my very first question to Pooja, if I may. We've seen India generally, or Indians across the board, generally struggle with adequate protein consumption. Could you offer your perspective on why this is so?
Well, firstly, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's talk. It is a crucial topic that has been chosen because proteins are extremely essential for all of us. And yes, consumption of proteins is really not given. Really, if you were to go by the IDA's last evaluation of how much protein Indians consume, 84% of us Indians are deficit in protein intake, which is an extremely alarmingly large number, requiring some form of strong action to be taken, because proteins are extremely crucial not only for growth but also for wear and tear, repair, and most importantly today for our immunity. And today, nothing is more important than our immunity. We are all having these seminars through webinars and have locked ourselves indoors because we need to keep ourselves safe. But while doing so, we need to pay extreme importance and heed to what our body requires to keep its port up, and that is proteins. Yes. So therefore, I'm very happy to be part of this webinar where we're discussing a very important and crucial topic of protein intake in India. Like I said, 84% of Indians do lack protein, dietary protein, adequate protein, and therefore the scenario requires great heat. Sorry, Karan, you asked me what?
So I essentially want to understand from you why India is struggling with adequate protein consumption. But let me try reframing the question a little bit. In your opinion, what would be the ideal composition of a typical Indian diet, in terms of either the way we approach either a rich or a protein poor diet?
I don't think there is a specific requirement for Indians per se. It's protein requirements for most humans. An ideal composition is anywhere between 50 to 60 grams of carbohydrates, 50 to 60% of carbohydrates, around 20 to 30% of proteins, and 15 to 20% of fat. That is what we call as the eat well plate or the balanced plate, where you're giving your body all the required nutrients that the body would need for its own growth, repair, and to take care of itself and to keep its immunity up. So I think that's the requirement. Most Indian diets do have lowered protein intake, primarily maybe because due to unawareness or myths that are circling the protein intake in our diet. So therefore, large sections of our society are lower in protein. 93% of us are actually unaware of what is our protein requirement. That was the last study done by the IDA last year, to 2019, which is shocking. 93% of us are unaware of what is our ideal protein requirement. 65% of even the non-vegetarian Indians are not meeting their protein requirements. So it's not only a segment of vegetarian versus not, but it's a huge section that requires more focus on our protein intake. So that's what an ideal diet would be made up of, which will give us all the benefits of eating a balanced meal.
Right. I'd like to shift the focus a little bit, and if I may pose my next question to Mr. Singh. I want to essentially pick your brain a little bit and ask you that, there seems to be a little bit of a myth around protein being expensive because of a lack of knowledge about it. How do we change this perception of affordability amongst Indian mothers and consumers? And if you could perhaps share with us some examples of affordable proteins that we could then have in our diets on a regular basis.
Uh, uh, Good afternoon, Karan, and other speakers and the audience. It's a very nice subject which we are all talking about in this tough period. Firstly, wishing everybody a safe stay, right? And nothing is expensive at the cost of health. People should understand that there is nothing is expensive at the cost of health. Hence, affordability is not the bigger issue for majority of urban population, right? They just need to understand what kind of food will provide right protein, right? Some examples of affordable and rich protein is chicken. It contains all the 9 essential amino acids in generous amount, right? Price, for per 100 grams with bone, it is about 20 to 25 rupees. Protein per 100 gram without boneless, which we call is 30-35. Egg is the cheapest in the world in India, right? We have egg boards in India. There's a lot of work which has been done to communicate about egg. Egg, if you see per 100 gram, 2-3 eggs, it's about 15 to 20 rupees. Protein as a whole egg is 12 to 18. So when we are talking about affordability, it's mostly awareness, right? Then we have milk. Price is 100 grams skimmed milk for rupees 4 and 5, and so protein you get about 4 grams. Paneer is other good quality protein. When we are talking about is also a good quality protein. The price is about per 100 gram is about 30 to 40 rupees. So peas is other. Then we have soya bean, right? So for rural population below poverty lines, the focus should be availability of right kind of food and protein to them. So it's only a myth, I would say. The affordability is not a challenge. It is how we make people aware about it, right? And that role can be played by the food industry very well, right? If you look into it, food industry with increasing urbanization, lifestyle, and big dependency on packaged and pre-processed food, the food industry plays an important role in tackling nutrition deficiencies and encourage healthy lifestyle, right? So there can be fortifications and other things which can be done. And so I think it's more how we can make people aware about, the mothers aware about it, right? That there's a big lack of knowledge about it.
1 minute, very good. Yeah, you were saying, Mr. Singh?
Yeah, so that's what I said. It is basically making more awareness about the quality of protein and the cost of protein to them. So affordability, right. I wouldn't say nothing is expensive than the cost of health.
Well said, Mr. Singh. I think this is probably an apropos time to take a little bit of a dipstick study and pose a bit of a poll to our audience in attendance. I want to pose the question to y'all: which meal, according to you, is more protein-rich amongst the two options that I'm posing before you right now? Option one would be either a portion of chapati or rice, as per your preference, alongside some dal, some curd, and some leafy green vegetables. Or do you think that option two, which is Chapati or rice served alongside dal, soya, paneer, or chicken, depending on your dietary preferences, is more protein rich. So essentially, I'll go over those again. Option one being chapati and rice with dal, curd, and green leafy vegetables, versus chapati and rice with some dal and soya or paneer or chicken. I'll give you guys about 20-30 seconds to offer up your responses before we dip into that. So let's wait for those poll results to come in, and we'll move things along a little bit further still. One of the core essential topics of this entire discussion, has been uh, that we're talking about the protein paradox, which is essentially protein knowledge, its perception and practices, some of the key reasons
Hello?
for. Hello, yes, Dr. Hemlata. Hello, right. I think we lost her. We'll just wait for her to come back. So it seems to me that the option two seems to be more particular, in terms of chapati with rice and some protein of your choice. Good to see that our respondents seem to be leaning more towards option two. But what I really want to talk about is Right to Protein, which is a nationwide public health awareness initiative, which released the findings recently of a study that I found fascinating. It essentially uncovers a paradox in India's daily protein consumption habits. Over 2,000 mothers were surveyed across 16 cities, and we know there's been a bit of a decline in adequate protein consumption. But the key findings of the protein paradox study present the accurate challenges, the factors that continue to contribute in less than adequate protein consumptions. I want to again turn to Pooja a little bit and talk a little bit about the protein pinch conversation. Pooja, I want to ask you how one can increase the intake of protein by an adequate amount with also the most unidentified sources of protein.
Um, by when we say increase the protein amount, like Dr. Singh already highlighted, protein sources have to first we have to first make everyone aware of the sources of protein, which were highlighted amongst, of course, the non-vegetarian sources, as well as the pulses and sprouts and milk and legumes and nuts and seeds and dark green leafy vegetables. These are all sources of good protein intake. The key here is prompting and teaching most mothers or caregivers the importance of making sure that protein is included in each meal. That, I think, that's what everyone is aware that protein is important. Most just feel that even if they can manage to give their family protein in one meal, the job is done. But that's something that's I think is a very common deterrent towards getting enough protein in the day. We are getting protein because we do know that protein is important. Even according to the protein paradox study, they found out that 8 out of 10 mothers know that proteins are very important, but yet reach an insufficiency level. That's because they do manage to give their family protein, but maybe protein in just one meal. What is very essential to remember is that 1/4 of our plate at each meal needs to be protein rich. So that's a very simple indicator to give to people. Um, like Dr. Singh very rightly said, nothing is expensive when it comes to your health. You rather spend in health, in giving yourself good food, rather than spending it on healthcare and hospitals and doctors and paying doctors and nutritionists alike. So it's far better if you will invest that money in the food to give yourself good health. At the cost of 5 rupees of an egg, you get 6 grams of quality 100% reference protein. Now, if according to statistics, majority of India does consume non-vegetarian food. I was last when I read it was 65% do consume non-vegetarian food. So if we can get 65%, but yet 86% of us are protein deficit. So if we can even just inculcate at the cost of 5 rupees of an egg, we're getting 6 grams of quality protein, which is completely giving us all the 9 essential amino acids. It's such a simple way. An egg is a food that can be had as a breakfast, it can be had as lunch, it can be supplemented to any meal as a filler, as a dinner. So it's a very easy meal to incorporate. Other than, of course, if you're vegetarian, then you have to use your dals and pulses and sprouts to be able to give yourself the quantity and quality of protein that you require. Vegetarian protein is not complete like animal protein. So when we talk about incomplete vegetarian protein, there is a pool or a basket of protein that is ideally maintained in your body. All the food we eat is then pooled into that amino acid pool, which will then complete all the proteins. So cereals lack one amino acid versus pulses lack the other amino acid. But when we eat them together, they go into the amino acid pool of the body, which is used throughout the day. So in that way, all proteins can be made complete. So pulses and legumes would be the best way and the easiest way for most people to afford quality protein. So either we can just take our pulses, sprout them, dehydrate them, and grind them and put them in jars, and then just easily top it up. Whether you're topping up your vegetables or you're adding it to a glass of chas, that could be one simple way to add more quality protein to all meals, even if you are not able to prepare protein at each meal.
Right. I think that's a very valid point you raised over there. I'd like to also welcome Prameet Kaur to the discussion. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you for being here with us
Yes.
for this webinar.
My apologies for joining late due to internet problems. And
No, these are all the small little niggles we're all dealing with nowadays in this topsy-turvy year. No matter, ma'am. It's absolutely fine. So, Pooja, as you're rightly mentioning, that there are multiple sources that we can turn to. I'm vegetarian. I actually had a little bit of an interesting question. I thought I'd throw to all three of y'all. Pooja, you were talking about vegetarians and proteins, but what about Jains? Are there any particularly protein-rich foods that they can consume on a regular basis? It's an open question for anybody, really.
Of course, Jains can consume pulses and legumes are very, very free. It's not something that is a taboo on them, not even in their religious days of persecution that just went by. So pulses and legumes are allowed to even Jains. Nuts and seeds are allowed to all sections of our society. Peanuts, which are not so expensive to consume, not so expensive to procure, but still will give you about 25 grams of protein for every 100 grams, is an easy way to fortify your diet with better quality of protein and give your body some good fat, which is sustainable in terms of hunger. Because peanuts can be a lovely snack to nibble on, which are protein rich and yet in good fat, which will keep you satiated for a longer period of time. So I think nuts and seeds and dals and pulses are a great source, even for Jains, to consume on a daily basis to give themselves the quality of protein they require.
Yeah.
Right.
Karan, I want to add further, right?
Sure.
So, if you see traditionally, we have a very good vegetable which is called jackfruit, right? India is the largest grower of jackfruit. It has very good protein. Today, this product is becoming very famous in US, right? Whereas this fruit is not being, there's no product developed. You will not find that in India, right? But traditionally, people used to have kathal ki sabji, right? In coastal area, right? In coastal area, this is a very, high protein product, right? So I think so. As people get more aware about what is quality protein and how it is, the more awareness will help, people to see other than animal protein, which are other proteins which has good value.
Right. Ms. Kaur, would you like to add to that a little bit, or should I just pose the next question which I had in mind for you? I think you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself, ma'am. Right, that should do it.
well, I think, missed most of the conversation, but whatever I have heard just now, first thing which I would like to convey is it is very important that how much a person should be eating. It is very important because in the last decade, the patients, those who come for nutrition counseling to me, we get patients of all age groups. So first, the individual has to understand how much protein should be consumed. Because nowadays we see both the thing. At the national level, there is undernutrition, but those who can afford, they are over consuming without knowing what are the complications they may arise due to overconsumption. So It has to be ideal. It has to be normal. First thing is this. And we have to, like nowadays, the young children, they are just into protein, any kind of protein, without any knowledge how much they have to consume. And I get patients, they are having kidney stones, and then even they are having this kidney disorders and dehydration due to overconsumption of protein. So first point is how much protein one should consume, and it is 10 to 15% of the calories of the total calories which we consume. So it is not a big number. We have to understand this. So it is around, if a person is weighing 60 kg, if I'm talking about adult, then it is just 1 gram per kg body weight. And we have to understand one thing, that cereals will remain in India, because we have been consuming cereals from a very long time. What is the need of this art is that instead of taking whole cereals, instead of taking millets, we are into refined cereals. That is doing the harm, because 50% of our nutritional requirements, they are still met by cereals, because we cannot do overloading of protein. Because if there is excess of protein, it must be utilized as energy source. We don't want to waste our protein also. We have to use it judiciously in our body. We have to see the economy also. So 50% of protein, it will come from the cereals. We have to understand they should be whole grain cereals, even the millets, which we have lost in after Green Revolution. We need to revive that. We need to revive that. And then there is a segment of population, they are not consuming much of protein. And like Pooja mentioned just before, I was hearing cereal pulse combination. It is a very ideal thing, but we have to educate what should be the ideal ratio. It is important, because people, what happens that if we go to what people are consuming in a day, once in a day, if a person is consuming 3 meals in a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Then what I see usually is for the lunch they carry vegetable and dinner is dal or any protein. They are taking just one protein in a day. So when we are talking, so it may be around 25 grams. If a person is consuming one katori of dal, and then maybe if a guna chana or any snack, then it will be 50 grams. So ideal combination should be 60-40. If it is taken in this ratio, then we will get the ideal protein combination. Like we will get the whole amino acid, the lysine which is lacking in cereals will be replaced by pulses. So we have to educate regarding the ideal cereal protein combination. So it is very important. And then there are soya. And then another thing which I see that generally from protein source, people think that they can pick up any food which has more protein, that is good. We have to go for protein as a package. Along with protein, what else does it contain? Whether it contains more of cholesterol, more of saturated fat, more of sugar. Like if a person is taking one katori of plain dahi, plain curd, then around 100 grams, so it will contain around 4 grams of protein. And now there is a trend of taking yogurt, sweetened yogurt, or even mishti dahi and so on. So the calories are added by the sugar. So source of protein is very, very important. This is my viewpoint. What else anybody would like to add to it? Or you have more to ask from me? Yeah.
No, we definitely have a lot more to ask where that came from. I was actually going to talk to you a little bit about the benefits of a balanced protein intake, but I think you inevitably ended up dovetailing into that answer.
Protein alone will not work. It will work along with the carbohydrates, because nowadays in the urban settings, I see people go on keto diet, people go on weight loss diet. They completely eliminate carbs. So that is not the picture. That should not be there. Carbs are, they will remain. They will remain. Cereals will remain. But we have to like plan the diet judiciously and educate also. That is important. The right combination is what I am saying.
Right. Mr. Singh, a question that really came to my mind focused a little bit on how proteins can help build a sense of immunity. And this is perhaps a very pertinent question given 2020, which has been a tumultuous year with the coronavirus. How can it help build immunity? How can it help speed up the whole process of muscle and tissue repair if you are into health and fitness, as many are in urban areas?
Yeah. So, Karan, and let me explain you. The main function of protein in the body is to build and repair cells and tissues, certain amino acids. The building block of protein are particularly benefits to the muscles repair and growth. So let me give you a data. If you see the medal tally of 2016 Olympics, right? So you see it takes 3 top countries which have won the gold medals, the highest medal, right? And you see the per capita consumption of egg or poultry or protein. They're the highest. And when you see our tally of India, right, in 2016, right, we have only 2 medals, right? And our egg per capita consumption is 60, and our poultry meat consumption is 5.3, right? So whereas US, China, Britain, they have very high numbers, right? So this also gives an indication to us that the health protein plays a very important role in increasing the muscles and the strength, metabolism, a booster, boosting immunity and repairing tissues, reduces age-induced healthy. If you look into it overall, my question is, do we really know about our body? What it needs and what it does not need, right? You just see, you cannot, if you are driving a car, you have to put a petrol, you can't put a diesel, right? Because the system is designed, right? It is designed to have, so I think so that is very important for everybody. We need to understand that we cannot survive without protein. The vital nutrients should make up about 10% to 35% to our daily caloric intake. According to each gram of protein contains about 4 calories. So based on 2000 calorie diet plan, you need to aim to take 200 to 700 calories of protein each day, right? So it's a it plays a very crucial role in building us. And it also, India is a deficient, we run an association of here, and I also run a company which makes food, right? And industry plays a very important role, but what percentage of food industry, we are only 6-7% of food which is processed, which is measured, tested, and given to the customers. Mostly the foods are cooked in home. Processed food is only 6-7% in the country, whereas you go to other part of the world where it is 50 to 60%, right? So there it is measured. You pick up any food product, you know what is the percentage of protein, what is fat, and what is a salt percentage. So it's everything given there. So it is, our body should know what we need. That's my int.
Right. The next thing I really
Yes,
want
I
to
would.
touch upon. Yeah, you were saying something, ma'am?
Yeah, I would like to add to it. Like your concern is, Mr. Singh's concern is genuine. Like our athletic performance is not comparable to other developed nations of the world, but we have to be more like go by the life cycle approach. Then only we can meet the targets. Because right from the time of conception, when a woman is pregnant, intrauterine life, that is very important because there is not adequate weight gain, proper weight gain during the pregnancy period. So there is low birth weight. There is low birth weight. When there is a low birth weight baby, and when from 6 to 12 months of age, there is no proper complementary feeding. Besides breast milk, we need to give right amount of complementary foods. So because there is not adequate nutrition during this phase of life, there is no proper growth and muscle building. So we have to target pregnant women, lactating women, then infants and children below 3 years. And then we have to train for the development of lean body mass, the muscle mass, which we are saying, because Indians, like genetically, we have more of fat mass more, and because there is less of training also. So all the environment, it matters, the genotype, phenotype, all these are there, but we have to target the 1000 days of life of a child, first 1000 days of life, right from the time of conception, because that is a window of opportunity. And there also, we have to follow the guidelines, how much protein is to be given. That is very important.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Doctor. The next leg of questions I wanted to pose, and I'm going to pose this to each of you all individually. First, I'll start with Pooja because she's been a silent spectator for the last 5 minutes or so. I want to touch upon the protein paradox that exists in the nation, and your take on how we can have a more protein sufficient India or more protein sufficient diets across the country. To you first, Pooja. I think you're on mute, Pooja. Just one of the things with the new normal.
Yeah, we have to mute it because the rest of the house otherwise speaks.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I was mentioning, yes, of course, the paradox is real, and where the need is high and the intake is low, and which is why we find ourselves in the position that we see ourselves, which is what we need to work on. And of course, bridging this gap between sufficiency of knowledge and then the pertinent people getting the knowledge. So yes, of course, the professionals on every front are aware of the need, but to precipitate this data down to all levels of caregivers is what needs to be infiltrated. Of course, my first and most my scream always has been that nutrition should be one vital subject taught to children in when they are in preschool. Just like we teach them A for apple and B for bat, teach them N for nourish, or teach them N for nutrition, because we're taught about history and geography and math skills, but we have to first teach everyone survival skills. How do you take care of this one human body that God has given you? And if you don't know nutrition, then you are falling prey to health fads and eating for taste, and therefore attracting every disease under the earth and only feeding onto the pharmaceutical industry. So I've been a crusader for this. I have requested so many governments and so many education ministers that our first step needs to be to introduce nutrition. Shouldn't be a subject that is taught to us as a specialization in post graduation or in graduation. This has to be taught to us in toddler years. Teach us how to take care of our body. So I think one of the most important ways to bridge this gap is to introduce nutrition as a very inherently important subject. And I don't think it's only India who's not doing that, but the rest of the world. But that's how we're making this. The health industry is a $3 trillion industry. $300 trillion industry was what I heard last. What's making this the highest industry in the world? It's because people don't know how to take care of the human body, which is why we are given the wrong food, given the wrong health care. We have to rely on medication. Nobody's thinking of using food as their first line of defense, but that's what needs to be done. So my first thing would be, of course, to introduce nutrition as a pertinent subject in schools. Other than that, I think an easy way to communicate mass messages is to have role models speak about this on day-to-day basis. When we wanted to eradicate polio, we got in celebrity faces that people will listen to. Why not do the same for the emergency requirement of protein? Have a few permanent people speak about how protein should be eaten. Give very simple 3 bullet points to public faces. These could be role models in terms of actors and actresses, sports stars that our country really looks up to. For example, if a Virat Kohli is to tell us how important protein is to him and which is what is making him where he is, every child would want to eat their protein, and because that's how we look up to role models. So I think there should be an entire mission commissioned where we request important people who have higher personality effect on our population to speak about importance of protein.
I actually remember this campaign from way back when I was a kid. Sunday Hoya Monday, Rose Khao Ande, with the whole Bombay cricket team spearheaded by Sachin, and you cannot miss something like that, which is
Yes.
actually something that a kid will then remember. I remember it 20, 30 years on.
Yes,
So
yes, exactly.
definitely. So, Mr. Singh, pretty much the same, like Pooja, like IT pointed out, that
Yes.
you've got to have somebody drive home that message that soya bean is good for you, or eggs are good for you, paneer, chicken, the case may be. What's your take on how we can resolve this entire conundrum around proteins?
So Pooja said, very well said, and I could see her passion right when she was talking. Right, the
Yeah.
first protein we get from our mother, and she plays a very bigger role to resolve the protein paradox in India. Educating and making mother aware about the right quality, quantity of protein will definitely help reduce inconsistency that makes India household undetermined protein, right? Hence, the next step we consider protein is a building block of not only human body but the nation to create a positive protein phenomenon in India. India's consumer more carbohydrates than actual need, while grossly under consumes protein. So I would say the three legs stool approach should be adopted as a way forward. Involvement of mother, involvement of industry, and involvement of regulators. These three things would basically, and making awareness, right? That awareness and education would definitely help us to resolve this, and a very nice roadmap can be developed for that.
Right. Dr. Kaul, I'd like you also to chime in with some pretty much the same question. Our protein paradox, how do we resolve it in your take?
According to me, like we have had green revolution earlier in 1960s, we government need to have push more for legume production, pulses production. One point is this, and the second thing is like FSSAI, this organization is doing a lot on food labeling. All the package they are labeled well, and they it shows all the nutritional composition. Whenever a person is picking up a packaged protein product, so they should be knowing, like it should be done in a good way so that the people are able to comprehend and read it. And then another important thing is like cereals, they are cheaper than pulses. So government needs to contain or lower the prices of pulses. So if there is more production of pulses, the prices will go down because their prices are around 3 times higher than the cereals. So that is why their consumption is less. So government needs to take step on this. And then another thing which I would like to point out is nowadays non-communicable diseases like cardiovascular diseases, hypertension, they are on rise.
Right.
And many people, they tend to have protein products which contain, or milk and its products which are high in saturated fat. One can have milk, but prefer skim milk, low fat milk, so that one gets a goodness of protein and calcium. But all these diseases are not there. And similar way, red meat and all the which are high fat meats, they can be avoided. Instead of go for lean meat and eggs, they're also lean meat. So we have to also educate our population regarding what are the side effects of taking any food without any proper nutritional knowledge. So we have to have a right knowledge, what is ideal, how much is the ideal protein content, what is normal for a person, because nowadays, as I said earlier also, many young boys, and I see they are taking big packs of protein containing various amino acids without knowing what harm it will do in the later life. They are not aware what harm they will do in the later life if there is consumption. Ideally, it should be 1 gram per kg body weight, but they are found to be consuming 3 to 5 grams per kg body weight. So one has to restrict also that there is a limit of everything, and one has to go by the guidelines. This is what I would like to re-emphasize.
All very, very valid points, Dr. Kaul.
Hmm.
Pooja, I just wanted to put you on the spot since I had you here with us. A question that sprung to my mind since I am an avid foodie, if I could use the F word very loosely. Every 150 kilometers or so that you go in India, you find dietary preferences, cuisines changing wildly. From here, from Bombay, say for example, 200 kilometers out, from there to another state, it just changes. So,
Yeah,
given all these different habits, food preferences,
yeah.
how do you ensure that all of these people adopt protein in their diets?
No, because those who are living in coastal northeastern area in West Bengal, there is a lot of fish consumption. It is lean
Hmm.
fish, lean meat also, and like there are studies which show that people who are taking, if you go to Punjab and Haryana, then there is a
Hmm.
lot of milk production there in these areas, and people are not undernourished here. The more it is in the belts which do not have adequate resources of non-vegetarian products, sorry, meat, protein products. And there is the more, like there was a drought, I think, in Maharashtra in around 1970. That time people were deprived of basic foods. So it was not only just the protein, it was overall whole foods, like all the food groups. So, food group, when we are taking a diet, we have to go for a complete balanced diet. Adequate all protective food should be there in right amount and right combinations. That is more important. That is more important.
That whole balance,
Yeah.
right? Circling around to you, Pooja, your thoughts on pretty much the same question.
Well, although cuisines may change, what we have to remember is that once you've driven the point of importance of incorporating protein-rich foods, whether it comes from your pulses and legumes or from your nuts and seeds, or it comes from the non-vegetarian sources, whether you hold the year like this or you hold it like this, it's just the same thing. Whether I package the dal as a khichdi, or I make the dal with Calcutta masalas, or I use so the idea here being the diversity of our cuisines is gorgeous. That the Indian thali was one of the most balanced plates all over the world. Our thali is a classic example of eating a balanced plate, and we are culturally rich in so many beautiful recipes that we don't really need to run or ape the West and eliminate eating lovely home cooked meals. So according to me, I think that's the best part, right? So if I learn how to make the dal your way and you learn to make the dal my way, we have a completely new dish, and that is palatable to our tongue and is still as nutritious to our body, and we're giving the body what it needs, but we're twisting it around in so many different thousands of. We don't even need to go anywhere beyond India. From north to south and east to west, we have maybe a hundred ways of making one dal, and I think that creates the factor of variety and interest. So I think we should use that as an advantage to us, because if we can learn 100 ways to cook a simple peeli moong ki dal and still give our family different tastes every day, we're still giving them the nutrition along with taste.
Right. Mr. Singh, to you as well, pretty much the same thing. Given that our states all have their own preferences, their own taste buds, how do you feel, Mr. Singh, that we can then ensure that protein sufficiency are being true to our own preferences in terms of taste and yes, cuisine?
Yeah. See, Karan, we are a tropical country, right? And we grow different, agriculture products in different part of the country, right? The most important is how we sustain that, right? Sustainability is very, very important, right? Where Dr. Puneet has also communicated that we would be short of, agriculture produce, because as our protein intake keeps on going, and you will see products moving from one place to other, right? I'm based out of Mumbai. You will see vada pav all over the country now, right? It's how we can inject some soya into it and create a high protein vada pav for a customer. So the food, Indian food is very magical, right? And you would go to East India, you could go to, but it is very balanced. Each state has, as Pooja has mentioned, each state has its own thali. You go to a Rajasthani, you will get a Rajasthani thali, well designed, well thought about. Go to Gujarat, you will have Gujarat. You go to Maharashtra, you will have Maharashtrian. You go to Punjab, you will find a thali there where you have makki ki roti and sarson ka saag. So that diversity actually helped us to sustain. But as our knowledge goes on, as we basically increase the intake of protein, we have to see how we sustain that. As our population is increasing, how we sustain that, and we have assured supply for these products.
Right. So,
last thing I would like to add that along with protein, physical activity is very important, because we need protein to build up our lean mass. And if we want to build our lean body mass, then activity is very important. So not just eating protein, along with our physical activity. If we really want to have good body composition, and as Mr. Singh said, that our new generation should be going compete with other athletes of the world. So protein and physical activity, they should go together if we want to really reap the benefits of protein.
So a little bit of a canine disruption there from my end, but no matter. I just wanted to ask you, doctor, as we start to wind down, any particular myths that you would like to debunk, that you've come across, that you feel should be out there?
Yeah, because I get many patients, many mothers of adolescent girls coming to me with PCOD and PCOS, and then they say that they have a myth that they should not be giving more like good amount of protein.
I'm so sorry, Dr. Kaur. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Can I please request you guys that if I could make a leave, because I had to be somewhere else at 6 p.m. so I have to leave. I'm so sorry, but to interrupt in the middle, Dr. Kaur. Karan, thank you. I would like to take your permission to leave, please.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a pleasure meeting you, Mr. Singh, and it was a pleasure meeting you, Dr. Kaur. And thank you to all the panelists and attendees who were there. Okay, thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care. Bye. Right. Sorry. Yeah. So, Kaur, you were saying?
Because nowadays it is very much in the media and all that non-vegetarian foods contain certain hormones, or for milk production certain oxytocin and hormones are used, and if this kind of foods are given to young girls, then they may have some problems like PCOD and all, polycystic ovarian disease and all. So then we need to educate these mothers. No, they are not harmful, and like we can still give them good protein. Generally, there is a myth that girls should not be given more protein, boys should be given more protein, boys should be athletic and muscular, girls should be dainty. So this we need to, this education, we need to provide this education.
Right.
In Indian context.
Right. Mr. Singh, for you as well, anything that you've come across that you would like to just point out as a misconception that should be really done away with?
Yeah, so there is a lot of myths, right, that protein is complex to digest, right? Dr. Kaur has communicated, yes, about antibiotics. Yes, very much focus should be done on quality of protein. Either it's an animal protein, it has to be, government has, FSS, Food Safety Authority of India has come up with very strict norms and rules and regulations, which will take care, right? But the myth is that high protein intake leads to a weight gain. There are these myths, protein is only for physical active people, right? The people who are athletes, they only need to have protein. Right? Protein fortified food items are expensive. So these are the myths in the market, which the more we make people aware about it, the more we communicate properly. I think so we have to remove these myths so that people can get quality protein for building up themselves and having a healthy life.
Right. We had a question coming from our audience. I thought I would take this a little bit later, but perhaps it's a little bit pertinent for Dr. Kaul, where we had an audience member ask us what are the best protein options for lactating mothers, either veg or non-veg. Dr. Kaul, if you would, please.
Like I said earlier, if a person is taking cereal and pulse in right combination, then it will complete the amino acid profile. And if a person is non-vegetarian, then one can have egg, fish, and lean meats. I always suggest my clients to go for lean meats because now in India, NCDs are also on high, non-communicable diseases, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, metabolic syndrome. So one has to go for lean meat and avoid processed meats which are laden with sodium, because for food processing they add a lot of sodium to increase the shelf life. So that is to be avoided. So go for natural food sources and all milk and its products, legume, bhuna chana, mungfali, nuts, and even the germinated chanas and all, wheat. Like earlier, we were having dalia in breakfast. Nowadays, people are sugary cereals, ready-made cereals, which I do not encourage. I want them to go for basic dalia, which is a natural form. So whatever is taken in natural form, it will give more benefit to the body and will not lead to any adverse side effects. That is important.
Mr. Singh, I had another question thrown to us by the audience, doubtlessly by one of our vegetarian brethren, where the question essentially is one bowl of soya with its 50 odd grams, 52 grams of protein per day enough? Or if they were to go for a combination of protein and soya over the course of the day, would it be too much protein for one day?
So see, if you look into it for vegetarian, there's a lot of research being done on plant proteins nowadays, right? They are trying to see how plant protein can be made equal to animal proteins, right? You would find a lot of products being launched worldwide, even in India, on plant proteins, right? Either it is chickpea or it is soya. There's a mixture of lot of lentils, extruded lentils, where you increase by processes the percentage of protein, right? There is a special processing which is done. So I think in the coming years, as sustainability is a big challenge, a lot of focus has been done on plant proteins, right? How we can match the same quality what a animal protein is. You will find in US a lot of work has been done. A lot of products have been launched, like Impossible Burger, right, which is 100% replacer of beef, right? Right. So you don't need to have a beef burger, but you can have an Impossible Burger, which is totally plant-based, right? So these are the changes which will happen, and the consumer would. Europe is turning towards there's a reduction of beef consumption there because there the consumer is looking into sustainability supply chain. That how we sustain the supply chain. So that a lot of focus has been done on plant, mock meats, what we call them, as a plant-based meats.
Right. Now, given we're the last throws of this event, I'd like to throw a question to our audience. Option being that who do you think can help India become more protein sufficient and aware on an immediate basis? Is it A, consumers themselves, B, the government or various bodies, C, the food industry, D, nutrition and wellness experts, or E, all of the above? I'll leave all of you all to munch on that while I dive into further conversation with Dr. Kaul and Mr. Singh as we round things up over here. Dr. Kaul, we love our cereals and pulses in India across the board. If I were to ask you, to pin things down and say that what is the right proportion of cereal and pulses in our diet, what would that be?
What cereal and pulses? I
If I
couldn't
were to
get.
ask you, no, my question essentially, doctor, is what is the right proportion of cereal and pulses to our diets? Because we
60
sometimes go
is to
overboard
40.
with 60 to 40.
60 is to 40 is the right proportion, and you will get the ideal amino acid profile which we get from animal protein.
Right.
So one can easily get from our vegetarian sources. And then, like there was a question about soya protein, 50 grams of soya protein. I believe in moderation is the key to good health. We don't have to take too much of any particular food item. Go by season, go by variety, go by diversity. So whatever is locally available is fit for that, good for that.
Right.
One has to just select the what nutrients are not good out of that, and then one can enjoy the food health also. Ultimate aim is good health. We want to attain good health. Like Japanese, they have a lot of fish and soya and activities, and then they
Right.
do not have any NCDs.
Hmm.
So because they do not consume lot of sugars, they do not consume trans fat, they do not consume cholesterol, lot of cholesterol and saturated fat. So these we all, and lot of sodium. Sodium is also a culprit because it leads to hypertension. So we have to careful about these nutrients when we are selecting a protein source. So that is important.
A clarification, doctor, where Ravneet Narula was asking us when you said that 60-40 split right at the start of this question. So you mean within one particular plateful, pulses and cereals split 60-40, or that
Yeah.
versus protein?
Yeah, because in both the meals, at what generally I advise to my patients is like if a person is targeting for 60 grams protein, so around 10 to 15 grams in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, and then if a person is having snack in between, then one can go for a handful of chana, guna chana, sprouts, or one can have 2 eggs, egg whites. So this way, even sattu is a very popular food and healthy also, doesn't contain sodium and the saturated fats, healthy also, healthy choice and giving protein also. Or one can go for yogurt or chach. People generally go for sugary drinks, aerated drinks, go for dahi ka mattha or chach, and you may also go for ragi drink. They're also popular because if you see that 25 grams of cereal has 3 grams of protein. It is not a bad number. One roti has 3 grams of protein. Nowadays, what is the trend is people are eating less of cereals. So that is why also they are not able to attain protein intake. Earlier, people were consuming around 300, 250 to 300 grams of, even more than that of cereals. Nowadays, people hardly take 150 grams of cereals in a day. So the protein which we are getting from cereals, that is also going. And instead, people are taking biscuits prepared from refined flours, then sugary drinks, or more of oil and fat. Oil consumption is increasing in India. Sugar consumption is increasing in India. So there is a shift toward empty calories. That is also why the intake of protein is declining. I would say that our humble cereal, they are still better than fats and sugars, which are we are consuming more these days. We have to avoid that, and if we go to cereals, still we can get some protein. So this is what I would like to convey. This is what I have seen all these years of my practice. Like now it's going to be 30 years. So today's trend, protein is a buzzword in everybody's household. Every young boy wants to have lots and lots of protein without knowing that what should be the normal intake, ideal intake. So we have
Because a
to.
little knowledge can be a very dangerous thing for
There are
most
two
people.
sides. There are two sides in India. We have
Yes.
like undernourishment also and overnutrition also. We have to
Right.
test it out. If there is undernutrition, that is because of food scarcity, and that we have to go at a population level. That we have to identify the communities where there is undernutrition and target them and give them more protein. But where people are already taking lots of protein but not doing physical activity, so there is no building up of lean body mass, and people are becoming obese. Obesity. Nowadays, obesity is the problem of India. NCDs is a problem of getting problem of India because we are shifting to sugars and saturated fats. That is to be tackled. But if we resort to our humble cereals, we always say they are carbs. If anybody want to lose weight, don't have carbs. Have protein, protein, protein. So, but ideal, what should be the normal? That is important. Knowledge regarding that and how to pick up food, select foods. So I will say that we have to boost cereals also, but whole grain cereals along with that millets. Millets are very important and combined with legumes. Then one can easily attain, India can attain.
Right.
This
So,
is my view and what I see when people come to me. Yeah.
right.
And then
So,
germination, there are so many cooking practices. Like when we germinate, then their nutritional quality increases. And then there is a dosa mixture in the south. They have it, dal and rice proportion. Dal and rice, they are fermented together. So it boosts the overall nutritional value of the food.
right.
So healthy cooking practices, dietary diversification, moderation is the key. Again, I will say moderation.
Well said, doctor.
Yeah.
Mr. Singh, just one last quick question for you. If you could give us some insight into your work, Mr. Singh, that you've done with the Right to Protein team as we've tried to deepen protein sufficiency and intakes across India. Could you give us some insight into that and acknowledge your work?
Yes. So, we have been working through the association, creating awareness of nutrition weeks in a different part of the country. We have we are 50 years old association, and we have about 200 industry attached with us. Our objective is to create awareness. We go to the school, colleges. We have stipends for them to give students in the food focus on nutrition, right? The challenge is what we find. We do a lot of surveys in the cities, right? Either it is south, north, and we have data. The challenge is how we educate the mother, because maximum food is cooked by mother, right? And we have seen a trend that when a rich family is there, there's a servant who cooks the food, and he doesn't know any norms of nutrition, right? So there is where is the gap. And when you go to the poor family, the wife wanted to cook a delicious food, and she want to add more salt and sugar so that the food look delicious. So it's very important for us as we are debating this that we should be creating more awareness in the families. It's not, if you see, process industry would put everything on the label, but at home you can't test it, right? You are not aware of how much uh, fat or sugar or salt or protein or carbohydrates are there in the product. So the education, the thing is very, very, very important. And as industry grows up, right, from present process from 5 to 6 to 25%, I think so this would be handled in a very different way. And Food Safety Authority of India is playing a very important role in this. That's my
Right.
take.
Right. Mr. Singh, Dr. Kaur, thank you so much for your time with us, for being here with us over the course of this entire webinar. Of course, Pooja was there as well. Thank you to her in absentia. We've heard about a lot of things over the course of today's discussion. We've tried to draw focus to a lot of the lesser known sources of plant protein, such as soy with its 52 grams of protein. We've talked about peanut butter. We've talked about cereals, pulses, the right mix of it. We've talked about animal protein as well, of course, while balancing the entire protein versus carbs, vitamins, fat conversation. And it's interesting to see that while we're talking obviously about the quality of protein, our audience in response to the poll done earlier mentioned that everybody needs to chip in and do their bit when it comes to raising the bar for protein sufficiency across the country. So that's a very heartening thing to see. On that note, I'll wind things up over here and thank you both for your time very much to Mrs. Singh, Dr. Paul, and of course to all our attendees who make this entire thing tick. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
And I
Thank you
hope you all
so
stay home, stay safe, and get loads of protein in balance with
Thank you.
carbs in your diet on an ongoing basis. Thank you so
as
much.
a part of balanced diet.
Thank you.
Yes, of course, always, always.
Uh,
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you
And
so
thank you
much.
so much for everybody listening in.
Mhm.
Right. Thank you.